There we go. Hey, Matthew's here too. Good stuff. Welcome to part 4. I can't believe it already. A month has gone by. Man. To selling for success, and we've got lots of ground to cover today. And we're going to get in the game, know yourself, know your niche, warming up the call. We've done a little bit of that. Selling is a good conversation. Overcome the fear, ask, don't give up, stay in touch, and relationship is the key. So that's what we're going to be sort of working on. Hopefully you did your homework. Show of hands. I can't see anybody's hands. Hopefully you've done some research. You know, you went and you met with your top 3 clients and booked a meeting session. I know, Miguel, you did that last week, so you're ahead of the game. Anybody else, you know, connect with 3 of your clients and get to know them a little bit and book those planning sessions just to figure out where they're at, what they want, and do that?
Hi, it's Evelyn here.
Yeah.
I'm too new in the game to do this part, so I'm just learning.
Okay.
But I don't have clients, I don't even have a business, so I'm just kind of starting.
All right. Well, you know, this is, you can start to do this if you're looking at a business, and this could be, you know, some of your market research that you're going to do. Just speak to 3 people in your life, just run your ideas by them and see what they think, right?
Yeah.
So maybe next week, you know, that's something you might want to try and see if you're, because I think you're pretty clear on an idea, aren't you, Evelyn, a little bit, or?
I think I know what I want to do, and I've already spoken to several women about this, so it's not that I haven't spoken to anybody.
Yeah.
But I don't have any clients yet.
Yeah, that's okay. So
I'm not ready for clients yet.
Yeah. So just, you know, continue the research, like ask them questions, what they think, what their opinions are, what they pay for it, and get really clear in terms of what the market wants, and then you can kind of craft your service or product around that. So it's good time to do market research. And when you start calling on people in a research, from a research sort of point of view, they'll probably say, yeah, when you get going, Evelyn, call me back, and they can be they can become your clients.
Yep.
Yeah. So just a little bit of review of the 6-step sales process. We started with research, really important to get to know yourself, get to know your clients, get to know the market, get to know what their challenges are and how you can kind of help them, you know, help them through those challenges and really help them to get results that they're looking for. The second step was prospecting, where you got to connect, talk it up. You know, yeah, you might have to get on the phone. I like an hour a day of maybe doing some prospecting calls on the phone, but then, you know, that's where your networking comes in. That's where your joint relationships and joint ventures come in. That's where your social media presence gets people kind of interested in what you're doing. Speaking at conferences, hosting events, writing. That's all prospecting, believe it or not. That's getting people kind of aware of who you are and what you do, and then hopefully the goal is to have that meeting, or that first what we call a discovery session, where you're going to ask questions about them, find out their needs, uncover their, you know, what they want, uncover their pain, their challenges, and then you work on your presentation and deliver your proposal, your quote. In there could be a little bit of overcoming objections and negotiating, and then hopefully you get the work, you get the job, and you do the work, and you continue to nurture that relationship and follow up. So just a little bit of a review before we get going. We talked last week about Sally, she'll kill me if she knew I said her name wrong. Sally Hogshead. We talked last week about her work in terms of when you're going to have a conversation with someone, what can make you fascinating. We talked a little bit about the 7 triggers of what makes companies fascinating. So What companies or examples of businesses do you know that focus on power and prestige? Anyone want to share? Power and prestige.
Maybe some of the older car companies.
Yeah, even the newer car companies like Mercedes or that new ad with Matthew McConaughey and his Lincoln.
Mm.
That's power and prestige. What about companies that are using mystique and passion? Mystique and passion.
Apple.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you say Apple?
It's all about, excuse me, it's all about lifestyle and I think helping your lifestyle with tools. I just get that sense.
Mm-hmm. What about using alarm and rebellion in your marketing messaging or your conversations with clients? Who's doing that? I kind of think that, like him or not, that Russell Oliver guy uses alarm. I buy your jewelry, you know? That to me is a little bit alarming, his approach, you know? And he's really tapping into the fact that you might be having some financial difficulty and you need to liquidate your jewelry. What about the idea of trust, using trust in your marketing thing? And welcome, Dave. Good morning. Who's using trust as a marketing theme?
A lot of natural food companies.
Yeah. And the financial industry, they want you to trust them, right? Insurance, you're in good hands with Allstate. That's totally about trust. So, how do you hook a client at an event? What would you say that might hook a prospective client at an event? You're at a networking event, or you're at another UWW event next year, or this year rather. What might you say to somebody that might get them interested in what you're up to and what you're about? I'll share with you a methodology, and I'm going to have you work on this. It's a pretty cool way to start a conversation with somebody at an event. It's do you know when, and you state a problem that your clients face, and what we do is, and you state the solution. So I happen to like Tim Hortons for their coffee. There's one right down the street from me that I'll sometimes go through the drive-through because it's not a full-service Tim Hortons. It's a Tim Hortons in a gas station. And I get their coffee, and so here's the problem I have. So do you know when it comes time to buy coffee at a drive-through and the time it takes to do that? Well, what we do is we come to your car and take your order personally and deliver it right to your car door. So what I'd love for you to do is, if you could, think of your business, think of a challenge that your customers have, and how you solve it, and just craft it into a statement like this. Is that cool? Just take a moment, and we'll hear what you got. Welcome, Emily, and welcome. Oh. Whoa. There we go. That's better. Welcome, Emily. We're just working on our what these are. This is an elevator pitch, by the way. This is when you're on an elevator with that prime target, that prime client, or that big investor ready to dole out all kinds of money. This is what we're working on is an elevator pitch. A great way to start a conversation. So if you can work on this, you know when you state a problem, and what we do is, and then you share how you solve it. So we're just taking a moment to work on these.
Please enter your access code.
Followed by your PIN. And every
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash.
and it,
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
Oh,
I know it's weird. Gotta love technology sometimes. Anybody have one of these yet? I'll give you another minute or two. Another minute. So do you know when? What's the problem? Like, what's that problem that your clients have? And what we do is, what do you do to solve that problem? It's a great way to get attention at a networking event, or when you're standing up and speaking, or even on the phone if you're making a call, or you're at a trade show and you have a booth. People come by. Hey, do you know when? I'm seeing a hand up, and I think that's Dr. Michael. What's the audio pin? I'm not sure, Emily.
I think it might have been 71,
71, okay.
if they're all the same.
I hope Emily can hear.
71 and then pound.
Okay, thanks. You might also have to unmute yourself too, Emily. I don't know if you've self-muted. That sounds kind of gross on a Monday morning. All right, who's got an elevator pitch ready to roll, or you want to try it out? We're all here to help you. So who's got?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
might be able to run with one.
Access code.
Whoops.
Pound or
Do I talk over this background sound? or
Yeah,
what?
just talk over it.
Yeah, okay. Do you know that when people have gone through a heart attack, they can feel scared about having a shorter lifespan?
welcome to the webinar.
What we do is emphasize the gift of a wake-up call that has been brought to you and help open up the door to having a better quality life and a longer life.
Right. So you're working with people who are who gone through a heart attack or
Yeah, post-cardiac. So it's somebody who's had either a heart attack or has had heart surgery or has been told that they're right around the corner from it. So we've got a potential to have a very highly motivated group of people because they're up against the door to the other side, eh?
right, and they're in fear too, aren't they?
They are.
Like
And-
not only fearing their life, but fearing everything else about their life, right?
Everything can come crashing down, and we really give a foundation to seeing that this is a gift and an opportunity, and then what you, in practical ways, need to do to really radically change your life.
I love it.
Michael, my name's
Yes.
Matthew. I met you at
Hey, Matthew.
Ultimate Wealth Weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
My father, I had mentioned to you that my father recently had a major heart attack and actually had to have open heart. And something I've witnessed with him is just the frustration that he's been going through in terms of, his energy, and I mean, he's just not the same as he was before, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, there's two sides to that. The depression and the hopelessness and all of that adds to the loss of energy, and a heart attack knocks the heck out of you, but it's a starting base to move forward. And you can expect to have a very high quality life now past cardiac event, as opposed to what what things were like 40 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible what they're able to do with medical science.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. I know my brother-in-law had a heart attack too, really out of the blue, Michael, and he's a GP, a doctor, and he's living a very quite a nice normal life now, you know, and took some corrective action around his health and is walking every day. Yeah.
Yeah. 30% of people's first diagnosis for heart disease is their death.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. You definitely want to take as many steps as you can. I love what you're doing, Michael. I really do. I think that, yeah.
It's in many ways it's me taking my heart attack and stroke and half a dozen different cardiac crises and take the lessons that I've learned and giving them back to others.
Beautiful. Nicely said. Anybody else have an elevator pitch you want to share? So this methodology, I have to give credit where credit's due. It's not mine. It's something I learned along the way by from Murray Smith talking about heart attacks. He had a stroke, Michael, and he's a co-author of a book called The Answer with John Assaraf from The Secret, and this is a methodology that they teach in their work. So it's a really great way when you're at a networking event. It's a great way for you to stand out and get attention, because what happens when you start off with sharing a problem and you ask a question and then you share how you solve it, the right people at those events are going to come up to you and want to know more. So it's not everybody, like, you have to understand that when you're out networking and, you know, or talking to people, not everyone's going to want what you have, but with this methodology, you're going to connect to the right people at that event. So I often hear, you know, like people go to networking events or business events and they go, oh, that was a waste of time. And I think it's just because we set these high expectations that everybody that goes there should become a client, and that's really not realistic. I always say if you get one or two good leads from it, you're doing pretty well. Hopefully, you practiced your scripts last week. Did anybody practice your scripts on anybody? Those opening statements. You know, practice, practice, practice. That's the advice I got when I got into a cab in New York. How do I get to Carnegie Hall? And the cab driver said, practice, practice, practice. Anybody practice them? All right. This week, you know, get on these. You know, practice your opening statements that we did last week. Practice these elevator pitches, because I guarantee the better you are, the more natural you are, people are going to really want to gravitate towards that. And you know, you're not going to come at it like you're reading something. It's going to be really natural for you, and it's going to come from the heart. Talking about hearts, Michael, this is a good quote by Peter Drucker. People buy with their hearts, not their minds. What do you think about that? I'll open the floor.
You used it before, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I still like it, and I think it's a great quote.
Hey, David.
Yeah?
Oh, actually, I'm thinking about that quote. Michael, you're saying that a lot of what you're doing is from your own experiences, and like I really like that. And I think that when you do your elevator pitch, you should maybe like mention somewhere that it's a lot from like your own experiences, and it's like you have a lot of personal investment in it because that's part of your experiences as well, and like a lot of it's coming from like what you tried to do for yourself, and like just kind of tying like you're super motivated about helping other people because this happened to you, and then you personally experienced these things. It's very like personable, and then people feel very attached because like, oh, you went through the exact same thing, you understand, and yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It makes me think about when I presented the problem and then gave the solution to start the solution. A way to start the solution would be I found after my heart attack that if we emphasize and yada, 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 so it makes that connection like you're saying. So thank you.
Welcome.
It is a connection, and that's what we want. You know, that's how we're really going to get our clients is we have to connect to the heart. We have to make that emotional connection. We all think our clients buy on price, or they buy based on statistics or numbers or quality. It's not that at all. We buy based on feeling and emotion. And so we can just sort of be mindful of that. What's the feeling and emotion that we're getting out to our clients? You know, like what's the vibe? You know, at Starbucks, Howard Schultz, who you know through his book that they sell at Starbucks, the CEO of Starbucks, he says, we're not just selling coffee, we're selling an experience and a relationship. An emotional connection is really our true value proposition. So that's like pretty cutting edge stuff, you know? So what I want you to work on today, we're going to actually do a little bit of inner work today on developing your core story, and it's kind of it's sort of serendipitous, Maimuna, that you mentioned to Dr. Michael Irving about connecting to a story, because when we are really clear as to what our story is and what prompted us to get into the business we're in now, it's when we start telling our story to others, that's when you start to attract the right customer to you, because your story, somebody's going to connect your story and go, wow, that's me, or that could be me. I want to know more. And that's really what we want to do. We want to attract the right customers rather than push and cajole and bend and force. That's not good selling. But when we attract, when people see our own inner light, when we're living our own true gifts, when we're sharing our own know-how, knowledge, and expertise, you know, with our clients, that's what people really want to connect to. So when you're writing your core story, we're going to have you do it in a moment. Are you making an emotional connection? Is there that emotional connection? When I hear Dr. Irving, when I hear your story, it's like, yeah, I can feel your pain almost, and now I can see, you know, you want to help other people in a similar position not have to maybe go through what you did, or if they are going through it, that at least they can have a new relationship to it. So I really hear that emotional connection. So when you write your core story, are you making an emotional connection? Is it honest and to the point? You don't want to go on and on and on about your story. Do you have the audience in mind? Do you have that ideal client profile we talked about? Do you have that in mind? Or that niche? Does it involve one of the 7 triggers that we talked about Sally Hogshead and her book Fascinate? Is your story topical? Is it a good overcomes and wins story? Is it sexy? I know in this day and age, sexy still counts. And is it relevant? Is it relevant to those that you're talking about? Is it of interest to them? So those are the elements of good storytelling and telling your story. So we're going to work on actually you crafting your story a little bit today. So, you know, what makes your company different from other local competitors? So what I want you to do is work on this for a little bit. How did you get into this business? Why did you get into the work you do now? What do you love most about it? What's that challenge your clients face, and how do you help them pass that challenge? And who do you love to work with as far as a client profile goes? Maybe describe your ideal day in your business. And then moving forward, can you recall an ultimate, of course my phone's ringing. Can you recall an ultimate success moment? What happened? How did you help that client? Also, what motivated you to do what you do today? And was there a pivotal moment that helped you do what you do in your business? If so, what was it? What happened? So work on that for a few moments, okay? And let's hear some of your stories. This is really important because these stories will go not only into your website, but it can go into your marketing material, your brochures, a sales letter, and also when you start to talk and engage with your prospective clients and your existing clients. All right? So take a few moments. I wish I had some background music to play. I do. Let me see if I can pull some up. Hang on. You have any questions, just feel free to ask. I'm here to serve and help today. There we go, a little smooth jazz for you. I hope you can hear that. Take a few minutes. This is your time today. Let me know if you want me to advance the slides. Another minute and I'll advance the slide. If you are new to business like Evelyn, you are, describe what your ideal day would maybe look like in your business. If you were, up and running, and when you are up and running, what's an ideal day look like? I'm going to advance the slide, and then this should wrap up your story. If you don't have an ultimate success moment now, what maybe in your past career or your past job or something you did in the past, what was a good success story then? How did you help somebody? Okay. Quietening down that music. I don't know if you heard it. Another minute on this. There we go. And who'd like to share their story?
I'll share, David. It's a little on the rough side, but so we develop educational software for elementary age kids.
Yeah.
All of our programs are developed by teachers, and the very first program was actually developed by a classroom teacher for use with his own students. So it wasn't even developed with like a business model in mind. It was strictly, developed by a teacher for use with his own students. Having struggled with learning difficulty myself in elementary school, I was drawn to this business. I wish there had been programs like this available when I was in elementary school, because I know that it could have made a big difference for me. And I love working with educators who are trying to make a difference in the lives of young people.
I like it. So you just need to sort of develop it a little bit more, but I like the fact that, you're talking about your own experience growing up, and you're sharing what why you love the work you do, right? So I think that's really really important too. Was there a sort of a pivotal moment that helped you do what you do today in your business?
I think probably just when I saw the programs and really started getting into them and going through them, and I knew right away when I was looking at them that sorry, I just have a call that I have to take.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
We'll come back to you. Anybody else want to share their story?
Hi. Good. How are you?
The other thing you might want to look at when you're sharing your story is, do you belong to any associations or networking groups? How do you give back to the community? If so, how? You might even talk about what makes you so lovable. And also, what do you do to improve your skill sets? So what's your commitment to your work that you do? So you might want to share that with your audience. But for the most part, your core story, your sort of marketing story, what you heard Matthew kind of sharing is really what's going to connect and link to your clients. Like, I know, like, personally, my pivotal moment for launching the Boomer Business Coach was 4 years ago in March. It was March the 1st. I got an email from my manager saying I have a meeting with the executive director of the organization I was with and with her, and it was March 1st. And I thought, oh, good, the raise. Well, I knew better. What had happened was I worked with an organization working on a training program for newcomers to Canada, and we were funded by Citizenship and Immigration Canada, the government. It was a government-funded program. Well, they had cut our budgets, and that day they let 6 employees go, me being one of them. And then a few weeks later, my mom at 86 passed away with pneumonia. She had had Alzheimer's really badly for several years, so really, in hindsight, it was a gift, but, still, it's a loss. And then Michael, 4 days after that, my brother-in-law, who I was talking about, had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery. So I'm thinking, this is a bad month, right? Bad month to give up amphetamines. Anyway, the long and the short of it was, once I kind of healed and got through that, I thought, wow, if this is happening to me, I wonder if this is happening to other people my age, other boomers. And in my research, I thought, yeah, there is. And so that's what kind of spurred on the Boomer Business Coach, where I'm helping other people my age who are going through change and transition, maybe look at living their best life and getting into business for themselves and doing what they're passionate about. So when I share that story, it kind of resonates with people, the right people, and that's when I share it, that's where you start to get interest from those that you're talking to at an event or a networking event, or those that you're talking to on the phone or whatever. It's when you share that story, you want it to sort of touch and inspire, to quote Landmark Education. You want it to touch, move, and inspire people to take an action. That action is to engage with you. Any questions? We're doing okay, everybody? I see a question on my dashboard. Good. Thanks, Emily. Matthew, do you want to finish what you were talking about before in terms of a story?
Sure. I was just gonna say that when I saw the products, the programs, and had an opportunity to work with them a little bit, I could see almost immediately how something like that would have been really beneficial to myself in elementary school. And that's really what got me excited about it, and why I've been doing it for as many years as I have.
Very good. When you start to talk that way, Michael, people are going to listen to you, because you're sharing your own journey. Then you're sharing what it is you love about this and how it might have helped you and how it can actually help someone else, in school, some other young individual who's in school may be struggling, right? They could be incredibly smart, but, we all have some sort of maybe a learning challenge or shortfall, like maybe we learn better visually and we're not getting that in class, or, we're better auditory learners, or we're more kinesthetic, where we have to kind of, do and touch and get our hands dirty, so school doesn't necessarily, teaching in school doesn't necessarily talk to all three of those learning styles, right?
No.
So, like, here's a methodology that, that might really connect to those learning styles. And thanks, Evelyn. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think another thing for Michael is that there's a rich resource that he's gathering together, and previously it was very difficult for teachers to find that, or parents to find that material, and they're gathering it all together, and all I have to do is open up the program or go online, and there it is at their fingertips. It's an enormous saving of effort and time, what he and his company are doing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So take all these and craft it into sort of your overall message when you're having conversations, Matthew, with your clients.
Okay.
And they'll probably go easier. When you start to storytell, what happens is story is everything in marketing, right? Understanding our own story and the journey we've been through not only helps us figure out, stuff about our business, but it really helps us to attract our niche client. And it helps us to really get clear on really what we have to offer people. So sharing our story helps potential clients feel into whether or not you're a fit for them. So when you start to storytell a little bit more, it's going to be a really very unique way of, of attracting business. Mm-hmm. Any other comments on that? So here's when you tell your story, you attract the right client. So truth is that marketing, really normal marketing is kind of boring. It's boring because it talks above, around, or through the audience rather than to the audience. So we're all here. We're all offering solutions without witnessing the problems. So when you speak in your own terms to your customer in a way that your customer can relate to, like sharing your own challenges and what you did to overcome it. And, boy, now you're really connecting. Like, you heard, like, what Dr. Irving went through. And it's like, I want to know more. What did you do? Like, we all know somebody that's had, heart issues.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I after speaking with Michael at the Ultimate Wealth Weekend,
Yeah.
I wanted to get my dad in touch with him like pronto.
Yeah. So, the power of storytelling is that, when we were villagers sitting around the fire, stories, are what led people to move forward or towards their vision. Stories work because they're not boring to the right people. So I really encourage you to develop your stories a little bit this week. So, because when you use stories in your marketing and in your messaging, you're going to allow customers to experience. Remember, we're looking at experience. So people buy based on feeling and emotion. So customers get to experience the need you're trying to solve in a way that's easily understood and it's memorable. I'll meet somebody and I'm horrible with names. And I'll forget their name, but I'll remember what they do because I remember the story. And it's also safe because it creates a little bit of distance between you and your reader or the listener and with their problem and they're able to see it from a more objective point of view. So stories are safe. Right? It's also a really good way to differentiate yourself from your competitors, and we're all about that, right? So chances are you're not the only one offering a solution to the problem. So what separates, you from your competitors? The answer is you. Telling your own story accomplishes three things when you're talking to an audience. First of all, it communicates the purpose or the why you do what you do. So you really want to get clear as to what is it, what's driving you, why are you doing what you're doing. It also establishes credibility. Look, I've gone through it. I went through this hell or agony growing up as a kid, or, I survived the heart attack. So it gives you instant credibility. And you don't have to be first, faster, better, cheaper than your competition. Plus it builds trust that you can help solve their problem, because if you've gone through it and you've survived and you're here to this day, boy, instant trust. Anybody get that?
Yep.
So here's just a sample story. My client's mom was a successful doctor. It was, how, like you do what your parents do, and it was always expected that she'd become a doctor too. But the thing is, she didn't want to be a traditional doctor. I kind of share her pain. I don't know about you, but I wince when I watch the operations on the medical channel. It's like, ugh! So she had an internal struggle going on for years, balancing, expectations, her own expectations of her life and others' expectations. So she spent years learning everything from psychology to hypnotherapy to help her clients deal with the inner struggle she went through, right? Until she found her own solution. And now she's actually a doctor, to coin a phrase, who solves the problems of others by helping them find joy but struggle with expectations. So she says she spent a great deal of her life achieving the approval of others by modifying her image to gain acceptance from those around me. Those skills were invaluable in marketing my first business right up until the point that they weren't. And that's when the struggle of surviving and changing with the whims of my customers and competitors became overwhelming. Anybody have that? So with her experience with storytelling in business and spiritual practices and a willingness to look inward for my answers, I found a new heart-centered branding solution that worked for me. And now she works with other small businesses to help them through that same transformation process. So she's actually like a marketing doctor. All right? So why stories work is, again, who would trust you to help them with a problem? Who do you trust? You trust somebody who's lived through the problem and found a solution. Right? And your story of how you struggled with that problem and solved that problem is a great way to share your experience with your customers in a way they can understand, remember, and relate to. They'll remember you, for sure. And the last thing is that your story will connect to your niche. It'll connect to the exact ideal customer that you're going after. So I really want you to work on your story this week and see if it connects. Like, does it connect to other people? Share your story a little bit. So that niche market, like your story will actually help you tap into your niche market. It'll help you figure out, oh, that's who I should be calling on. Got it. Right? Because if you don't know who your customers are now or who your ideal customer is, when you clarify your story, you'll see, oh, that's it. That's where I've got to go. And it's really important. Your business success, your sales success, really depend on you being able to, first of all, identify who your ideal customer is, who that niche is, and to be able to, meet their needs and desires and offer them ideas and solutions at a price they can afford, right? That's the bottom line in business. And we've all heard this, my product's terrific. It'll appeal to everyone, but, you can't be all things to all people. So when you target your market, it's really defining who your primary customer should be. And you get that way, you get to that by, really tapping into your story. Really, that's how you get to it. Michael just made a nice comment on the chat, and I really appreciate that, Michael. Thank you. So here's a case in point. When you really hone in on who your ideal customer is, you're going to be a lot more clear in terms of your marketing efforts, your sales efforts, how you're going to, and you're going to waste you're going to, save so much time and waste. So here's an example of a printer of mid-sized firms with mid-sized projects. That's their customer target. However, that's too large. So a target market with firms within a radius of 20 miles with annual revenues of 10 to 25 million and a need for 4-color printing runs of approximately 5,000 pieces is a clearer definition as compared to, well, we're going to target mid-sized firms with mid-sized projects. What does that mean? So as you start to hone in on your, you do your story, you hone in on your customer, you hone in on your niche, really get as clear as you can in terms of who your ideal customer is. And remember, there's 3 kinds of customers. You got the consumer market, that's B2C, individuals and households who buy goods and services for their own benefit. You've got, like drug and grocery items are kind of typical. Then you got the B2B. That's where Miguel and Dave are playing. They're in the industrial market. They're marketing to groups or organizations or companies that purchase products or services to improve the day-to-day operations of their business, to be more profitable, to save more time, to be more efficient. And then you've got the reseller market maybe to focus on. These are, if you're in any view into retail, you might hire a middle person, somebody to market and sell your goods or services. So here's how you can identify your market, not only through your story, but you identify your market by why would a customer want to buy your product or service? How many of you have asked that? Then you want to segment your overall market and research your market. So again, the 3 types are B2B, B2C, and then industrial and wholesale. Really important to know where your market is and who they are. And then how do you connect to them? So I actually do this little chart. And I think of, okay, well, who's my market? If they're boomers, where are they networking? Where are boomers going? Probably chances are the Board of Trade, the Toronto Board of Trade, or whatever it is in your area. What trade associations or business groups are your clients going to? Who are they with? Maybe they're a member of an association. Well, if they're boomers, maybe they're part of CARP, right? Canadian Association of Retired Professionals. I'm just using my own business as an example. What media are they tapped into, or or maybe it's social or mass media. Maybe they're really big on Facebook. You have to connect on Facebook. You have to have a Facebook presence, or do you have to be on Pinterest, or do you have to advertise on a certain radio or station or a newspaper? What do your clients do for fun and leisure? Where can you connect with them, for their fun and leisure? If you're tapping into moms, maybe they're soccer moms and they're hanging out at the soccer fields in the spring and summer. Why not park the car and go and connect with them? Saved by the bell. We've got a few minutes left here. Also, who else is selling to this market? What other businesses are selling to this market, and who might you be able to, team up with or joint venture with, right? That's also really important. So my couple of things. I want you to work on your story this week, and then the next thing is work on that chart. How can you connect to your market? Because the other thing that's really important, the reason I developed this chart approach is it takes 9 to 11 contacts just to get a meeting with a client. 9 to 11. And in your overall marketing and sales plans, you don't want to be like a one-trick pony and always be at the same networking event and hoping you're going to get somebody. You've got to connect with your clients in different ways so they get to build a relationship with you. Wow, we saw you on social media. We really like what you're writing about. Or we saw your blog. Or we saw you on, your posts on LinkedIn. I know Emily, who's on our call today for the first time, she saw I write an article a week on LinkedIn. Or where do you have to network with your ideal customer? Who can you maybe team up with? Who can you joint venture with? So work on this chart and for yourself, and then we'll hear what you have to say next week, and also work on your story, because it's really important to know, who's that ideal client? How are you going to reach them? How are you going to connect to them? And what are you going to say that's going to really touch, move, and inspire them to want to work with you? Any questions as we wrap up? Any comments?
I think for myself, David, this is Matthew. Today's call was very productive.
Excellent. Thank you, Matthew. I hope they're all productive, but I'm glad to hear that, because really I wanted everybody on this series just to get really full value and to be value add. So thanks, Emily, and thank you, Michael, for your beautiful comments. I still have to schedule some coaching calls with some of you, so I'll throw some dates out to you a little later today of when I'm available. And I just want to wish you all a beautiful week. We have 2 weeks left, and I hope you're getting some good stuff out of it. So thank you all for being here on this chilly Monday.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
My pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, everyone. Have a beautiful week, okay?
You too.
Thanks, David.